Hello everyone, welcome back to my digital diaries and you're watching Sitecore Content SDK series. In today's episode, we are diving into Sitecore Client API, how it's created, the key methods like getPage, getDictionary, getPagePath and more that power your Content SDK app. Before moving ahead to this episode, if you are new to the channel, please do consider subscribing to the channel. Watch this video till the end, and if you like this video, please do share it with your friends and colleagues and do click on a like button. So let's get started with Sitecore Content SDK, the Sitecore Client API. Quick question. When your Content SDK app talks to Sitecore, who's actually handling that conversation? Fetching the page, getting the translation, checking for personalization. The answer is one single class, the Sitecore client. And today we are breaking it down. So what is Sitecore Client API? Think of it as a single unified messenger between your front-end app and Sitecore backend. It's a framework agnostic, meaning it's not tied only to Next.js, and its main job is managing communication with Sitecore headless engines, mainly Sitecore Experience Edge over GraphQL. Instead of your app calling 5 different services separately, one for layout, one for translation, one for the sitemap, Sitecore Client gives you one organized entry point for all of it. What it does? Let's look at what it actually does method by method. It can fetch page layout data, that's the structure and the content of the page. It can retrieve component data, the fields for one specific component. It can get dictionary values, your translations for localization. It can generate static routes useful for static site generation. It can fetch preview content so editors can preview unpublished changes. It can retrieve your sitemap and robot.txt, and it is helpful for SEO also, and even lets you run your own custom GraphQL queries directly using a method called getData whenever the built-in methods don't cover your exact need. And behind the scene, it also handles retries and caching. So if a request to Edge fails temporarily, Sitecore client can automatically retry it without you writing that logic yourself. So what does all this actually unlock for your app? Content retrieval, getting pages and components rendered correctly, localization, showing the right language to the right visitor, personalization, delivering the right content variant based on visitor behavior, SEO support through the sitemap and robot.txt. It supports the SEO, static paths for fast pre-built pages, and extensibility because Sitecore client let you plug in your own custom service like a custom layout service without breaking anything else. That's the last point is huge for real project. Say your skate park store needs extra image data fetch alongside every page load. You can extend the client layout service to do exactly that while still relying on everything else it already gives you for free. So in one line, Sitecore client is your app's single unified doorway into everything Sitecore. One client, one config, and access to layout, content translation, personalization, and SEO all from the same place. Now let's quickly look at where Sitecore client actually gets created and why you only ever create it once. This lives in lib and Sitecore client.ts file. So it imports Sitecore client sc config, and this is your object. So this make it singleton module. The client is created once and every page or component that needs it just import this same file instead of creating a fresh client every time. Since setup involves reading configuration and preparing services, reusing one instance is far more efficient. So what happens that the moment this run, the client reads environment secrets straight from your config. Things like Sitecore Edge context ID, Sitecore Edge URL, telling it exactly which Sitecore AI environment to talk to. Using those, it automatically boots up an internal GraphQL request client factory behind the scene. And that's the real win here. You never have to manually attach API keys or handle authentication header for individual fetches. The client already knows how to authenticate itself. So one small file doing a big job, created once as a singleton, auto authenticated and reused across your entire app. So let's move on how we actually use this client to fetch data. Now that our Sitecore client singleton is ready, let's actually use it. Two methods do most of the heavy lifting on any page, getPage and getDictionary. Let's see them in action. This is getPage. So if you see in this code, we are getting the client here, Sitecore API client, for that client dot getPage method and the getDictionary method. Okay, so first getPage method, this method fetches the complete page layout composition, the placeholder tree, and all the data source fields needed to render a specific route. Here is the mechanism. It takes the URL string you request and translate it into an optimized layout service call against experience edge. That call resolves the exact components a marketer has assigned to the path inside Sitecore AI pages. So essentially you give it a path and it give you back the entire page structure and content ready to render. So in our example, if you can see, route path is cleanly resolved from the incoming URL pattern. This one, route path, this we are resolving here. Then we are called client get path, where we passing the route path and the locale along with the current language too. So the result is page layout data and it holds everything needed to render the page. Now get dictionary. This one retrieves localized static phrases, things like forms label, footer links or button text. The small bit of text used repeatedly across your entire application, not tied to any specific page. The mechanism here is a different. Instead of hitting the layout service, it targets your Sitecore instance dictionary domain directly using a single GraphQL batch query. What comes back is a lightweight JSON object, just key value pairs mapping each phrase key to translated text. So in the code, client.getDictionary, you see here, we are passing the site name and the locale, the language. The result is a dictionary phrases, which gives you a quick access to the translation. For example, dictionary phrase like welcome underscore message with a fallback like hello world. In that case, key, if the key is not passed present, then it will fall back to hello world. So quick recap. getPage gets you the full page structure and content for a route, and the getDictionary gets you the small reusable translated phrases used everywhere. Together, one call for the page, one call for the words around it. That's how a single route in your app gets fully rendered. We have covered fetching page and its translation, but before any of that can happen at build time, your app needs to know one thing: what pages even exist. That's where getPagePath comes in. This method is crucial for static site generation workflows. Its job is simple but important. It generates a full list of every valid content URL that exists in Sitecore. That way your build server knows exactly which pages it needs to pre-render before a single visitors even show up. So how does it actually do this? It queries something called the site path service, which scraps the entire content tree for you. It also resolves language variants, so if a page exists in English and French, both get accounted for it. And it returns everything as one unified array of path arrays formatted in a way that maps smoothly onto a catch-all routing structure. In the example, getStaticParams defines the site locales you care about. Then we calls the method getPagePaths, which we passes sites and locales. So if you see here, sites is defined here, locales are defined here. The result gets mapped to the exact shape Next.js accept path, splitting each path into segments. And notice the catch block here. If generation fail, it safely returns an empty array instead of breaking your entire build. So one method and your entire site page list is ready for pre-rendering. We have covered the big ones: getPage, getDictionary, getPagePaths, but Sitecore client has few more methods worth knowing. Let's fly through them. First one, get component data. It processes the layout JSON to isolate just one component, fetch its data, and inject those props directly into the matching UI element. Then we have a get error page. It retrieves your marketer's authored 404 and 500 pages fully localized straight from the CMS. So even your error pages stay on board. Third one, get head links. It aggregates everything your page head needs: SEO metadata, canonical URLs, and dynamic style sheet links, all in one call. Get preview. It bypasses public CDN caching entirely, fetching real-time unpublished drafts. This is what powers interactive visual editing inside Sitecore pages. Get data. It lets you run raw custom GraphQL operations, but it still automatically inherits the client's global retry, timeout, and caching rules. So even custom queries stay protected. Get robots. It dynamically generates a valid robot.txt file based on the crawling rules configured right inside your Sitecore instance. And finally, get sitemap. It queries the sitemap service to build automated XML sitemap even across multiple instances. One method and every site's URL are covered for search engine. And that's a wrap up for Sitecore client. We try to cover major methods and the toolkit which powers the content, SEO, and previews in your app. If this video helped you, then please do hit like button, subscribe the channel, and drop your question below in the comment. I will meet you in the next video. Thank you.